All right, we can go ahead and get started. It's still 6. Got a few people in, and we have more people look like they're coming in. So, uh, so I want to welcome everybody to the fourth or fifth, I lost count, virtual town hall. It's been an interesting journey doing these. Of course, everybody's been moving virtual, so everybody's been doing virtual workshops and webinars and everything like that. So we're learning just like everybody else. But it's been useful and educational, I think, to everybody that's participated. And I want to thank everybody for participating who's been on the call before and who's just joining us for the first time. Just want to introduce myself. I am Jay Reed, the chapter chair of SCORE New Orleans. We do have our host on here, April Ham from the Ham Institute. She has done a wonderful job hosting these events with us. I also want to thank some of our community resource partners such as SBDC, Fund 17. Also want to thank SBA for helping us, providing us information and resources to help share with the general public. Excuse me, to help us manage these interesting times. If I haven't mentioned your name as far as community part, I do apologize. I'm running through a lot right now, just trying to keep everything going. But today what we'll talk about is phase 2, entering phase 2 of Louisiana opening and what that means for the business development community, what that means for businesses, and how we can manage the process and what to expect. First off, I want to say that the people that are allowed to reopen in phase 2 now, of course, are the bars and brewers, theaters, casinos and video poker, racetracks, event centers, day spas and tattoo shops, massage shops, swimming pools, bowling alleys, and skating. Excuse me. So it looks like pretty much everybody's open now. Well, we'll be open in phase 2. It'll go to like what the people who are open in phase 1 are experiencing now. Once they go into phase 2, they'll be able to move up to 50% capacity versus that 25% capacity, which means they'll be able to do more business. So we are making steps to go forward. I do want to make a side note, New Orleans itself will not go into phase 2 tomorrow. They're looking at making a decision sometime next week on when they'll do phase 2, but it's approaching nonetheless. The rest of the state of Louisiana is going to phase 2 tomorrow. So that's positive signs on the progress we've made as far as combating COVID-19 and, of course, flattening the curve and being able to move forward. So that's a good thing. That's really the main things I want to just touch on before we get into the actual discussion with April. Just want to remind everybody, if you would like to, if you have any questions or would like to make any comments, feel free to unmute yourself or put your comments in the comment section or questions in the comment section, and we're happy to talk about everything. So without further ado, April, turning the show over to you.
Thanks so much, Jay, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks to everybody who's on the call here with us live, and to everybody who's going to be listening to our recording. So, as you said, these are indeed exciting times, and we have a lot to be thankful for. Is also a lot to be concerned about. But it's conversations like these that are helping us to make the best decisions going forward. So thanks for all that you're doing, and to all of our partners as well for helping us to coordinate this. So to get started, I wanted to just bring up a few of the issues that I've been hearing from small business owners in our community and in the country in general, just to start our conversation. Some of those issues include things like, now that we can reopen, how do I do so safely? Larger companies and chains, probably have a corporate office that are getting them the types of information that they need in a timely manner, PPE, other supplies, cleaning solutions. But for the vast majority of small business owners, it's just one or two people or a very small team of people, really trying to figure everything out for themselves. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is just some of the safety protocols that we are noticing to be effective in our community at places that reopened in phase one that can be considered best practices for smaller businesses that are opening up in phase two. And just to get started, one of the things that I've noticed just in being out and about myself, running my own errands or, picking up takeout and things like that, I want to just say, from a customer perspective, one of the things that I've really appreciated, one, is seeing all the employees wearing their face masks. I know that they're not very comfortable. Wearing it around myself is uncomfortable. I certainly commend all of our, frontline workers, grocery store folks, restaurant workers, healthcare workers, who are working in their mask all the time. That to me it says a lot. And I certainly appreciate it as a customer when I walk in and I see that there's no complaints. People are just doing their jobs. So, that's, certainly a small thing, just the simple act of wearing masks and encouraging customers to wear masks. The second thing is the availability of hand sanitizer. This is something that I've just noticed, from March till now, in any place that wants customers to come inside has hand sanitizer regularly, just available right there in the lobby. And, obviously our supplies are a lot more available now. We're definitely probably still in times of shortage, but, it definitely, I think, makes a difference. Just little things like that to kind of help customers feel like, hey, this is a safe place for me to bring my business. I wanted to share that because one of the business owners that I talked to in particular has been setting up to reopen, and has a lot of concerns about whether or not customers will actually show up. Are customers going to feel like it's safe? Folks can do what they need to do to, clean up their space, to wear masks, and make sure that the environment is safe. But what are some additional steps that need to be taken to make sure that customers know that it's safe to come in, so that customers know that you are taking those steps and not just, trying to take their money without regard for their safety. And I think that goes over to an issue of simply communication, right? And so that's the second thing that I wanted to talk about, was just like, sort of some strategies to communicate to our customers, hey, here's what we're doing to reopen safely, and then finally, for some folks, I think that now still might not be the best time to reopen. The governor says it's safe to reopen, and at some point the city of New Orleans will say it's safe to reopen, but the government isn't running our business, right? Each business has to decide for themselves when is the best time for them to reopen. And there are some standard procedures that we can all follow, but it's going to look a little bit different in each place of business, especially depending on the type of business that it is, right? And so, finally, I'd like to kind of, be sure to make space to discuss what that looks like for different types of businesses, and what types of things that we can be thinking about to help us decide, is it the right time to reopen, or should we wait a few more weeks or to the next phase? You know, what does that process look like for making that decision? So with that, I'd like to kind of open it up now to some of our guests, if they have any thoughts around any of those three things: safety, decision-making, communications, or any questions.
My name is Jeff Williams. How you doing today?
Hello.
I guess the reason why I was going to say something, because many businesses, they probably had some issues with their family members. Some of them has passed, and because of coronavirus, and maybe so. I think that's a fear. That's really one of the things that's in place right now, and I guess maybe they want to wait for a couple more weeks or something like that. So that's all I want to say, because that is a hurting thing, as far as their loved ones or even their friends have passed. You know, and they are a small business owner. I think that's one of the things of fear. You know.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Jeff. That's an excellent point, and something that we do need to definitely keep in mind. This is real, right? People are dying, and it hits very close to home. Probably some business owners have lost loved ones as well, and I think that maybe that can kind of be part of the communication process. That business owners can let customers know we're all going through this, and it's scary. We don't need to pretend like we've got everything figured out, because we don't. Even the scientists don't have it figured out. We're still working on a vaccine. That's down the road. We're still trying to understand the disease itself, and simply just trying to manage as best we can. And so, Jeff, I think that's a great suggestion, is to acknowledge that with our customers, and I think that here's where relationships become so important, right? Because if you know your customers, if you have a relationship with them, then you probably know their families. You know what's going on with them, even if you haven't met their family, right? And so I think that remembering that, our customers are people too, right? We don't want them to come back just so they can give us their money. We want them to come back so we can visit with them, so we can check in with them, right? And I think that business owners who keep it about that, who keep it about the relationship, will be a little bit more successful, if not a lot more successful, than those who don't.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I kind of want to put in something on that as far as like communicating with customers and everything. And this is more from marketing and sales viewpoint when it comes to like reconnecting with them. I was talking to one of my friends, a vendor of mine that helps with some merchandise, just promotional merchandise. One of the things that they did in their company, which they said helped tremendously with what they do, they changed their company to a PPP program. PPP company, providing things like hand sanitizer. And I talked to them. One of the things that they're looking at is making it available for other companies to have new branded merchandise, just like we were doing in the past before COVID-19. We had our ink pens and our different branded merchandise. They were saying like hand sanitizers can be branded. So that's something to entice entice clients to at least contact you, so you can say, look, I have these hand sanitizers that we're giving away, and just be portable ones. Just little things like that. Not saying that you have to spend any money right now. It's just we have to start thinking outside of the box as far as how we entice people to reconnect with us. So with the idea of health and safety in mind, doing things like having branded hand sanitizer that you can give out to people is definitely something that I would recommend, because it's something that's good to help fight COVID-19, and it keeps your brand in front of people, so people know that you're active, you're in business, and you're considering people's health at the same time.
Great point. Yeah, I really like that a lot. Mm-hmm.
Great idea.
And, to your point about pivoting and, trying to keep your business open while also filling a current need. I think that beyond even, simply sharing branded merchandise, branded hand sanitizer with customers, that's also a good opportunity for sales, right? Especially for companies that have lost a lot, during this process, or, really struggling to pivot or struggling to find new ways of staying open. I think that for really small companies, I think a lot of customers will be supportive, that if they're buying hand sanitizer anyway, why not buy it from, my good friend here at X, Y, and Z local business, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. It helps give you more value to your clients, especially in this climate. Because again, health is going to be a big concern, everybody's safety, and with the majority, if not every business being able to open up now, there's going to be a lot more concern about that. But I think doing the right things will keep everybody pretty calm about things, and help keep us in a position where we can manage the situation a lot better than what we initially could. Because in the beginning, when everything hit, we were, I don't know about everybody else, but I was caught off guard. So that can be nerve-wracking, and I think this whole months-long process has been nerve-wracking to a lot of people.
Right, yeah. And speaking of that, so how's everybody's mental health these days? We're, making it, let's see, March, April, May. We're right at the 3-month mark. Congratulations, we survived. We've certainly wish it could be better circumstances, and certainly not all of us have survived. But if we're still here today, that's certainly a reason to pat ourselves on the back. We have to kind of give ourselves a break.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I've been
yeah.
Travel lately. Like, just get out the house to at least just drive around, not feel so trapped in.
Right, and right now I'm out at the park. I came back to sit in the car. It's a really nice view. I was out walking when I first joined the call, but then there were like crows, chickens crowing or something, and so I said, well, let me go sit back in the car during the call. But here in Louisiana, we've been really fortunate to have some great weather lately, and finding new ways to work. Depending on the kind of work that you're doing, or if you've been closed, it's definitely been a great time to get a change of scenery. And I don't know about anybody else, but when I'm outdoors, that's when a lot of times I get some of my best ideas. I'm really able to think clearly, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, because I was going to say I was at State Park this evening and riding my bike, and it was a beautiful day, and I was enjoying it. And I think that's very important that you get out and be safe. You know, of course, have my mask on, and I really enjoyed that getting outdoors, and it kind of makes you appreciate everything. You know, yep, God is good.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to call on Jamie. Are you with us right now? Okay, maybe he's not there yet. Well, one thing that I wanted to talk about that I think is very important to safe reopening is the idea of contact tracing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what that is and what that will look like in the context of a small business. So, you know, we've probably, you know, seen on the news or, you know, seen ads for new contact tracing jobs on the internet and that type of thing. Because from a public health perspective, that's something that the government is doing to try to help make sure that people who may be at risk for exposure can be identified and, you know, tested and, you know, all of that stuff. But some of the techniques involved with contact tracing just, you know, really come down to documentation. And I think that that's an area that's weak a lot of times for small businesses, especially micro businesses. But in times like these, we really do need to make sure we put in the time for documentation. And what kind of documentation am I talking about? Well, when you're working with the public, even if you're just seeing one client at a time, one patient at a time, you know, if it's a nail salon or a massage therapy studio, a barber shop, we do have guidelines for how many people can be in a location at a given time. But I think that there are some extra steps that we can all take to make sure that we are helping to solve the problem and not contributing to it by mistake. So, and I'll share one example. One small business owner that I speak to, I recommended that he take a contact tracing class that's available online. It's free. It's freely accessible from Johns Hopkins on the Coursera.org website. The course is designed as part of training for people who are going to be contact tracers, like for the public health department. But it's an introductory level course, so that it's accessible really for anyone at any level with any experience or lack thereof. And what I like about it is that it covers a lot of communication skills. These are communication skills, just as we were talking about before, that business owners and staff at small businesses can use to better connect with their customers. So it covers a lot of interviewing techniques, conversational techniques, things that when you're running a business, you really don't necessarily have time to think about. You don't really necessarily have time to go back to school and brush up on these skills, you know. And so a short online course like this that you can just watch some videos at your own leisure, I think is a good way to simply review some best practices in communication. At the same time, the course helps business owners who may not have a background in public health or social network analysis, which gets to be part of, that real technical part of it. If you don't have that kind of background, which most people wouldn't, right? It introduces those concepts to you so that you can be more aware as you're just conducting day-to-day business of just really little things that you probably never thought about or never paid attention to before that you probably should be paying attention to now. And by that, I mean, just say in the context of a conversation, someone comes in, oh, hey, Bill, how's it going? Great. How was your week? Oh, it was great. I did X, Y, and Z. Oh, great. Hey, Bill, by any chance, did you happen to go on that trip you told me you were planning for Memorial Day? Hey, that's just regular conversation. I don't know if you saw where I was going with that, but Memorial Day was sort of a wacky weekend. I don't know if you were, if you saw it in the news, but lots of people took that opportunity to go out of town, to go to the beach, and be around lots of crowds. So just in a casual conversation, a contact tracing approach kind of tells you how to get that information from someone without being too invasive, right? You want to kind of be aware of what your customers are doing when they're not doing business with you. Are they just staying home? Are they back at work? Are they around lots of people all the time? Has their church reopened? Are they having services indoors? Have they been out of town? Just little things like that may just be chit chat any other time. Right now, those things really matter. And we want to make sure we're creating a physically safe environment for our customers, by cleaning and wearing masks. But we also want to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and not exposing ourselves unnecessarily, and I think that by being proactive and becoming more aware of these types of things, we can prevent ourselves and our customers from, sort of that broad, messy community spread, which means you just in the course of day-to-day life, you're exposed, you have no control over it, you have no choice. Well, a lot of times we do. So if you know, for example, that your customer did go out to the beach for Memorial Weekend and was surrounded by lots of crowds, maybe suggest to that person that they wait 2 weeks before they come in. That's keeping yourself safe, your family, your other customers, and it's not like you're being mean or picking on that person, but you're just doing your part to keep this thing contained. So
Yeah, that's great information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great information to know that there's a course out there that people can take to learn about contact tracing. I'm actually kind of scrolling through it right now. It gives some great information about the matter. This is probably something that I'll share out through our social channels and everything, so people, especially since it's free, so people can get abreast to how to manage, of course, during COVID-19, the recovery process, do contact tracing and everything. I do want to point out one thing, and I'm glad April mentioned it. Having conversations with people, that's actually the way that April described it. A lot of times, especially on the sales side, you have to have those conversations anyway. So these are actually skills that, regardless of COVID-19 or not, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially dealing with the sales perspective of things, they should have, being able to talk to customers without being too evasive. Without being too prying, but actually getting to know customers. Because that's one of the things it sounds like you'll have to do in contact tracing, is having those conversations like, how was your weekend? And did you go on a trip and things like that? It'll not only make the customer, it'll not only help with the contact tracing process, but it also makes people feel as though that you're actually engaged with them. You're not just somebody that's trying to sell them a product or service. You're actually engaging in conversation and building that relationship with them.
Exactly.
And you know what, Jeremy, I was gonna say that I visit not necessarily a small business, but like Fridays last night, but it made me think about what she was saying. But the people that wanted the people did not want to wear the mask, and that could serve. So I think so. Some of the businesses, even a small business, most people that come into their venue, they tell them that they have to wear a mask. So that's another thing that a lot of people are dealing with. People, I can go to the grocery store, whatever. They don't wear their mask, and now that they have all these phases and stuff like that, they are requiring them to wear a mask. So that's another thing that they have to worry about besides, the contact, that you was discussing. But I guess that's something that they say that many people don't have to wear a mask, but now they're required to wear a mask if they want to get service. So, and I guess some of the small businesses, they're going to tell them the same thing, and people begin to get irate and stuff like that, cursing and all kind of stuff, So that's the only thing I was going to say about that,
Now, I did see some videos regarding incidences like that. There's one thing to keep in mind, and one of the reasons why I say this, one of the people that didn't want to wear a mask was boasting about we live in a free country, which we do. So we have our freedoms, but at the same time, business owners have the right to say this is our company policy. It's like saying no shirt, no shoes, no service. If you don't have a shirt and shoes on, I can tell you, well, it's our company policy that you have to have shirt and shoes on for us to provide you service. Masks, in my opinion, fall in that same thing, under the same guise as that's just our company policy. If everybody's wearing a mask and that's our company policy, then yeah, I have the right to tell you, if you don't wear a mask, I'm not gonna offer you my service, because it's my freedom to do that. It's my decision to say, okay, this is what we want to do in regards to the health crisis and in regards to how we operate business. Now, customers have the right not to shop there as well, which you have to keep that in mind. But whenever things like that happen, especially when you hear people saying, oh, I have the right to do what I want to, we live in a free country. We do. However, if you're a business owner and this is your policy, you have the right to tell them, yes, you have the right to do what you so choose to. However, this is my business, this is my private business, and these are my policies. If you don't want to abide by the policies, I will have to ask you to leave. It's just, it's those tough conversations that we'll start to have now.
Okay.
Right. Now, my response is this. Two things. First of all, we're going to have to talk about conflict resolution and verbal de-escalation, because I tell you right now, I'm one of those people that will get irate in public. I have had to go there. And the last thing I want to be told is, it's the policy, blah, blah, blah. So, but, because on some level, a customer, quote unquote, is always right. So let's talk about that, but let's put it aside for a second. The first thing I want to talk about is this concept of freedom. Now, from a government perspective, from a political science or sociology perspective, our individual freedoms end where someone else's freedoms begin, right? Like, I have the freedom to yell and curse out loud outside in public. However, I no longer have the freedom to do that when I'm upsetting someone else, right? And so it's not just the fact that businesses have their own rights to conduct their businesses accordingly. It's just a basic principle of social contract, anytime you live somewhere besides a deserted island, you agree to a social contract to cooperate with the other people who live and work around you. Part of that is right now wearing a mask. And so we have to keep in mind just really basic things like that I think we forget, because in this country, our individual rights and liberties are so emphasized. And it's great. It's really great to be in a country where, you know, we can make our own choices about things and we can, you know, keep certain things private. It's great to an extent, you know, and certainly it has its limits. You know, my privacy is over the moment I commit a crime and and the government needs to investigate me or the police need to investigate me, right? The moment I decide I'm not going to cook my own food, that is the moment that I have to do whatever the restaurant owner says is necessary for them to cook my food and give it to me. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm not going to call out the particular restaurant where this happened because I might want to eat there again one day. Or maybe I want to work there. I don't know. But we have a restaurant. It is a chain. Fortunately, it is not one of our local restaurants. And the moral of this story is support our local restaurants. So this chain restaurant has a plant-based burger that I really like. I think they make it fresh in-house. It's not like a frozen veggie patty. And I was really feeling like a burger. And I was really feeling like that fresh plant-based burger from this particular place. And so I was planning to go pick it up. And I had just ordered it earlier in the week. Now, being in business, I don't have time to cook my own food. So I order out quite regularly. So in the same week, I was going to have that same burger from the same place again. I was going to order online in the app, but for some reason their link wasn't working or something. And so I clicked on the other link that was the option from Google Maps. And it was for a food delivery service. I won't say which one, but there's only a few. So I ordered through the food delivery service app because that's the one that was working. And I opened the app, and instead of selecting delivery, I selected pickup. Okay. Now remember, I had just been to this restaurant earlier in the week to get this same sandwich. When I tried to go this time, I arrived and no one came out to me right away. And I saw the person, going and delivering food to other cars. Earlier in the week, the process was that I received a text message saying, let us know when you get here and what kind of car you're in. That didn't happen this time. But I had ordered in a different app, so okay. Well, they have a sign that says, curbside, call this number. So I called the number. And that's when the person who answered the phone informed me that because I had ordered through this food delivery app, I would need to come inside to pick up my order. Now, this was, at that point, I had not been going inside of any establishments. Like, I have health issues. I've been sheltering in place at home, avoiding crowds when I go out for walks, picking up at takeout at the window, that kind of thing. I haven't been going inside anywhere. So it was very disconcerting to suddenly be told at a place that I've already been earlier in the week that I have to come inside to pick up the food instead of them bringing it out like before. Now, here's the beginning of the conflict as far as I can see it. I'm going to pause, let you think about this. Who is right? Who is wrong? What should have happened? What do you think is going to happen next? Well, I was hungry, so I broke character for a moment and I got upset. And I said, I don't think I'll be coming inside. I probably didn't say it quite that nicely, but I more or less said I didn't want to come inside and that they needed to come and bring it to me, to my car. And of course, her perspective was that she didn't need to let some random customer talk to her that way. And honestly, I was being quite rude. So she hung up the phone. Okay. In my opinion, that was mistake number 2. So the next time someone came outside to bring out food to someone else, I put my window down and kindly called this person over. And, just asked about the status of my food. This person said, actually, it wasn't ready. And that the people who answer the phone and that the apps don't really know when it's ready because, she's the one making the food. And so she knows, and it's just not always accurate. Okay, well, that's a perfectly reasonable explanation. And I'm a reasonable person, even though I'm angry. So I understand. So then, since this person was giving me some decent information, I said that, I had ordered from this particular delivery app and that the person inside was saying I needed to go indoors. And this person confirmed that, yes, that's our policy. Now, I understand policy very well. I work in policy. I write policies. I analyze policies. I'm all about some policy. I don't have a problem with policy. However, what I do have a problem with is the communication of policy, right? We're back to communication again. As a customer, if there's a policy that affects me as a customer, I need to know about it. And certainly if the policy is that I go inside to pick up my food, I should be aware of that before I place my order so that I can then decide, I think I'll go somewhere else, or I'll plan to wear a mask and, wear decent clothes so I can go inside. As it turned out, I was not dressed to go inside. I was a mess, to be honest, I was not fit to go inside of any kind of establishment. I did have a mask in the car, but I was not fit to go indoors anywhere. And honestly, that was what was driving my emotion, was the fact that I simply was embarrassed to get out of the car, but they didn't know that. All they saw was basically an angry Black woman, to be honest. And so I'm gonna wrap it up because, of course, that's not what this call is about. But I think it's a good illustration of this. So, long story short, the young lady who was doing the food orders, once it was clear to me that there was no way I was going to get this order, that I was going to need to go out, I thanked her for, explaining it to me. And, she was also a young Black woman. So I just, shared with her that I just didn't feel like I was dressed to go inside. That was the point at which she said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to bring it to you. That was the most human thing that happened to me in this whole experience. Now, so she brings it to me. I go home. I'm going to make this last part quick because, frankly, it's ugly and I don't want to make myself look too bad. But I get home, the burger has mayonnaise on it. I do not eat mayonnaise, and the burger doesn't even come with mayonnaise. I'm confused as to why it has mayonnaise on it. Now, as it turned out, they gave me a different burger than the one I ordered. They gave me the Impossible Burger, which is available at many places right now. So, and I'm sure it is a fine plant-based burger, but I don't eat it. That's not what I ordered. But at the time, all I knew was that I had been made to wait for my burger, that it was now cold, and now instead of being able to eat it, it has mayonnaise on it. So I brought it back. I called the phone. Long story short, I spoke to 2 different managers, the assistant manager and the general manager. The assistant manager was, perfectly polite, very reasonable, but wasn't the person who could solve the problem. The general manager was the person who could solve the problem, but he was extremely rude. Long story short, he told me that I needed to contact the people in the app that I had ordered from to get them to correct the order before he could remake it. Now, at this point, between talking to all these different people, I've come to understand that between this local franchise, between corporate, and between this app, it's extremely disorganized. even as angry and hungry as I was, I mean, I was hangry. Like, I could be in that commercial. I could see, because I am a reasonable customer. I mean, I'm paying like $10, $12 for a plant-based burger after all. You know, I can see that there's not a lot that they can do for me here at this location. At the same time, this location is the one that messed up this burger. So as a customer, I'm thinking surely they can simply correct their mistake, tell me they're sorry, so I can go home and stop being hangry. Instead, he tells me I have to go through this whole bureaucracy just to get their mistake corrected anyway. So, you know, that's like getting into the details. But you see here that this conflict is getting more and more convoluted. And there's probably a simple solution in here. In my opinion, the simple solution was simply, hey, I'm so sorry this happened. It was my mistake. I'll remake it for you personally. Or, you know what? I agree. This is totally ridiculous. And if it was up to me, I would remake it for you. But as it is, I'm told that I have to direct you to go to the app and have them request that I remake it first. Hey, I get it. You know, you didn't make the rules. Either one of those would have been sufficient. Instead, as Jeff was suggesting, what it turned into was a pissing match. I was cussing, he was upset, we were both yelling, and, you know, we hung up upset. I went online and gave them bad reviews, you know, and so, you know, I'm going to stop there, but okay, right. So yeah, go ahead.
I was just interrupt you for a moment, just kind of touch on a few things that happened there. That goes back to communication and policy. You gotta have, like, before this whole COVID-19 thing happened, it should have been best practice to have certain policies in place that included training employees on what the policies are as far as their employment level. In the situation that April was talking about, they sound like they didn't have everything in place, and they didn't have the employees fully educated on what was the process as far as preparing and delivering food on each app, whether it's curbside pickup or actual delivery. That's one. Two, customer service. I find that's something that a lot of companies, and that's both big and small, they treat customer service like a secondary part of the business, where it should be in the forefront, because without customers, of course, there is no business. The whole purpose of business is to deliver a product or service to customers that are willing to actually pay for it. And if you don't have those, then your business is pretty much null and void. So that's just an example of how communication, a breakdown in communication, can cause havoc in a business. And I'm pretty sure that that wasn't the only incident that happened that day. I'm pretty sure that it was probably chaos in that kitchen when they were fixing the food. That's how all the miscommunication happened. That's how the food got mixed up, the whole nine.
Exactly.
Now, I am going to change subjects, and I hope she doesn't, well, she said she can share some information with us.
Okay.
We have Ms. Joe from the SBA on the call today. They've been keeping us informed on what's going on with everything from the PPP program, and I can't pronounce it, the EBI, the EIDL programs, and everything like that for small businesses. I have to say this: I applaud her and everybody in the SBA for being able to roll out these programs at such a rapid pace. I understand previous programs, they have a lot more time to actually put the programs together, work out the kinks, and get it provided to the public. In this particular situation, they in my opinion, they went above and beyond to get the programs in place and get the information distributed. It was really fast paced, and I know there's other people on the call there that can most likely vouch for that. It was very fast paced, and I can say things changed a lot, but they did a great job in putting everything together and keeping everybody informed on how to go through these processes. So, Joe, if you would like to say a few words, just kind of give us an idea what to look for in these programs going forward. I know that I think the PPP, they still have one of a few organizations that still have some funds available. And is there anything that the SBA is looking to what is the SBA is looking to do so far as going into the reopenings?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Jay, for this opportunity. So where we are right now with the Senate passing the bill that the House passed last week, we're going to be looking at some more changes. I cannot speak directly to those until we get the interim final rule from Treasury, SBA coordinating with Treasury rather, but it looks like what's been passed is going to be more favorable to the small businesses. I think one of the things that happened with this program is that some of the small businesses took their eyes off of the fact that that program was intended to keep people on payroll. And I think that's where a big issue started. But now with some of those, guidelines being subject to being changed, that's going to make things a little bit better for the small businesses. Right now, we still have $130 billion left to loan under that program. Part of that is because some of the businesses who got loans have returned the money to
You still there, Joe? I'm not sure what happened. Hopefully we'll get her back. Does everybody else hear me?
Yes, I'm not sure what happened either.
Okay, but she was giving some great information, and
I'm sorry.
hopefully we can get her back. Hello?
I got kicked out of Zoom. I'm sorry. But I
That's
just
okay.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to share that there is still money to lend. A good thing that's happening for the small businesses is that where in this proposed change, they were required to have all the employees back by June 30th. They're looking at extending that time frame. And another proposal from the rule that just passed is that rather than having to pay back the loan, the portion that's not forgiven in 2 years, it looks like that's going to be extended to 5 years, still at that 1% interest rate. So that's a positive change. but we do want everyone to know that there is still money to loan. For those who applied for the EIDL, we're still processing those loans as quickly as we can. And if you have any clients that have been declined for the loan, ask them to reach out to us. We may be able to share some information with them in terms of what they need to do regarding reconsideration. If they get, because several of the applicants have been declined because of non-verifiable information. And what happens is when they go into their EIDL portal to create their account, they're failing that verification test there by checking the wrong box. I'm not sure how familiar you all are with what you have to go through when setting up a Dun & Bradstreet account, but there are several things in there that reminds you of some of the things that the new businesses have to complete, and those questions they have to answer when requesting a Dun & Bradstreet number. That portal is set up similar to that, but as soon as someone puts in an incorrect answer, the system shuts down on them. A fraud alert is placed on their loan application, and the loan application is denied. And all that's stated in the letter is it was denied because it failed verification. So in a case like that, what we need the applicants to do is to request reconsideration and to state in the reconsideration request that they need more specific information in terms of what was not verifiable. Also on the EIDLs, we know that people are receiving in some cases less than what they expected in terms of the amount of the loan. And the agency is using the information that they entered into the application to determine, to get an estimate of what 6 months of working capital would look like for them. So I'll give you an example. I had someone who said, well, I qualified for $1.5 million. So I asked, why did he think that? He said, because my operating expenses are $40,000 a month. Where we're looking to give you 6 months of working capital, your operating expenses are only $40,000 a month. That's not $1.5 million. So I think there's a misconception there in terms of how much SBA will approve for the borrowers. And those loans are still at 30 years, and the amount that's subject to be forgiven is whatever was given to them in the up to $10,000 EIDL advance. Another thing that happens is based upon the information that's included in the application, SBA may make a determination that the client or the applicant has not suffered economic injury beyond what they received in the EIDL advance. Again, going back to what they submitted in their application, based upon their total sales for 2019 and their operating expenses or their cost of goods sold, the agency determined that you got $6,000 in your EIDL advance. When we look at the numbers you gave us, your economic injury was not beyond that. So there's not any additional money that's going to you. So in a case like that, again, what we'll ask the applicants to do is to request reconsideration and provide some documents and some information to support that, yes, their economic injury was beyond what they received in the EIDL advance. So there are some things that we locally have been doing, working with the applicants and assisting them in getting reconsideration. If they're denied because of credit, what they want to do is to pull that credit report, see what information is on there that could not even be their credit. So they need to dispute that. or if there's derogatory information on there that is theirs, then they need to get into a repayment plan with that creditor, work something out, and then come back to SBA and say, okay, this is what I've done. So those are just some of the fixes that we've been able to provide to the applicants when they've been denied for various reasons, so that they can go back and request reconsideration. In a case where somebody feels like they should have gotten more money than what was approved for them, again, they can request reconsideration, wherein they will request an increase in their loan. And again, they would need to support it, provide information to support that increase. But we want everyone to know that we are available to assist with those idle reconsideration requests. And also in some cases, we may be able to get someone to look behind the scenes to get a status report. We can't do it for all of the applications, but for some of them, we are able to get a point of contact that we have to look at that specific application and give us a status update on where that applicant may be. So I'll stop right there in case there are any questions or comments about anything that I've said.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's all really great information, and really good to know that, you know, one, it's not too late to apply, that there are still funds available, and two, that there is an option to request reconsideration for people who were not satisfied with their initial results. Thank you so much again, you know, for sharing the steps that they need to take in order to make that happen.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks for joining us, Joe. I appreciate that. We definitely needed that information.
Okay, and I know, like, so now, okay, the other thing that's happening is people are looking toward getting certified. The SBDCs have been getting a lot of requests for assistance with certifications. So we want people to know that we're here for that too, and people are looking to see what they need to do, especially with the storm that's out there now, and they're anticipating that there's going to be a lot of work related to disaster recovery, disaster response. So we've been, the SBDCs have been getting a lot of calls about what do I need to do to get certified? What do I need to do to position myself to take advantage of some of the work that's going to be coming as a result of this disaster? So we want them to reach out to us. I mean, nobody wants to see a disaster, but it happens, and we got to get people back to where they were prior to the disaster. So we've been working on that too, working with firms to get them positioned to take advantage of some of the work that the government may have.
Thanks for sharing that. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. But speaking of certifications, I know prior to COVID-19, the SBA was doing some workshops on certification, like the 8A certification. Are y'all moving those online, or are y'all postponing those until we can get back to live workshops?
So with regard to the ones that we did monthly in the office, we're going to be moving those to an online platform. However, working with the HBCUs and also with the SBDC at Southern University and with the SBDC at Southeastern, we've done some certification workshops. We did several in May, and we have some that's scheduled for June and July and August. But for our regular sessions, we're going to move those to an online platform. We'll be doing those monthly. That'll be hosted by the Louisiana District Office, by SBA. But for the others, we're working with the SBDCs to get the word out. And what we do is we ask the Small Business Development Centers to promote those statewide, and we'll do the same thing with the ones that we do out of the district office. So yeah, we're going to be reinstituting all of those. Also, there are some big changes coming with the Women on Small Business program. We're going to a formal certification process for the Women on Small Businesses. That's going to be critical for those who want to participate on those contracts. They will have to have a certification letter from SBA because self-certification is going away. And that's going to go into effect on October 15th. So we have a series of Women on Small Business workshops that we're going to be doing with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center and the Small Business Development Centers. So there's more to come on that, because that self-certification going away is going to make a big difference in terms of a woman on small business being able to bid on any contracts that's been set aside and competition restricted to the women on small businesses.
That's really good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that update. That definitely helps out. That's great to know.
Okay.
And Joe, just for people on the call or who may be listening, who are not familiar with the different programs, can you tell us a little bit about what certification is and what it means for a business?
Okay, so so we have, with the federal government, we have the 8A, Small Disadvantaged Business, HubZone, Woman-Owned, and Veteran-Owned Small Business. So I'll start with 8A. Within that program, if you're certified, then you're eligible to be considered for sole source contracts up to $4 million for services, construction and supplies, and up to $7 million for manufacturing. Sole source meaning that we're just dealing with one firm. That firm will negotiate with the agency, and then the contract is awarded to them. Now, within the 8A program, if we receive offers for contracts beyond that, then we accept them for 8A competition. So that's the way, even though 8A is a business development program and they're certified for 9 years and they work directly with a business opportunity specialist, the focus is business development, but it has that contracting component. So we know that firms get certified because they want to have that leg up in doing business with the federal government. They want to be eligible for those contracts. So that the 8A program gives them a leg up where they're not having to compete against businesses that are larger than theirs or in a better position than theirs. And if they're certified 8A, they're automatically certified as a small disadvantaged business. With the HubZone program, and that's the historically underutilized business zone program, that's a contracting program where we're attempting to assist the government to meet their 3% goal of awarding contracts to businesses that have been certified HubZone. And the HubZone program is designed to stimulate the economy in areas where there is high unemployment and low income individuals, and to also provide employment opportunities for those individuals who reside in those HubZone areas. The basic criteria is that the business has to be located in a HubZone, has to be a small business, 35% of the employees reside in the HubZone, and the business is 51% owned by US citizens. So what that does for a firm that is HubZone certified is allow them to be able to bid on those contracts that the government has restricted competition to certified HubZone firms. Same thing with the Women on Small Business program. There's this 5% goal. There are two components to the Women on Small Business program: Women on Small Business and Economically Disadvantaged Women on Small Business. some of the unique aspects of that program is that not all NAICS industries or NAICS codes are eligible for contracts under the WOSB and Ed WOSB. There are 113 industries, NAICS industries, that are eligible, which equates to 444 NAICS codes that are eligible. So what you'll find is that you won't see contracts set aside in that program for all women-owned small businesses. So we've been right at meeting the government, right at meeting that 5% goal each year, except in 2018, we did not meet that goal. We're still waiting on the statistics for 2019. But right now, with that self-certification in place, the women-owned small businesses up until October 15th can self-certify, and that self-certification will make them eligible to bid on those contracts. However, after October 15th, they have to have the formal certification by SBA, again, narrowing their competitive arena, where they're only competing against other women-owned small businesses. And with the veteran-owned small business program and service-disabled veteran-owned small business program, there's a 3% goal for veteran-owned small businesses. And thankfully, we've been able to achieve that goal for the past few years. But if for someone who wants to do business with the VA, they have to have that verification of eligibility in order to bid on the VA contracts that's set aside for veterans. But for the the non-VA agencies, I should say, there is not a requirement to have that verification. However, it is helpful to the contracting officers rather, to see that the firm has that veterans verification by the VA. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It just gives them a more narrow arena when it comes to competition, so that they're not competing against everybody else. They're just competing against other businesses like theirs.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that overview.
Okay, you're welcome.
And so, Joe, when are your next workshops going to be happening? And what are the contacts for people who'd like to call in to get help establishing themselves with the certification?
Okay, so I don't have it committed to memory, but we do have them posted on our calendar of events website at sba.gov/LA for Louisiana. And we post, as we schedule them, we post them all on our calendar of events. So I apologize for not knowing all of the dates. Just have them committed to memory.
That's not a problem. What I'll do is try to share, like we've done before in the past, is share some of the upcoming events from the SBA through our communication channels to make sure everybody's aware when these programs pop up. It's just they're good programs that everybody should be able to at least be aware of and know that they have those resources out there.
Okay, so I'm looking at my calendar real quickly on my my phone, and on June 10th from 2 to 4, we're doing the session called Building Wealth Through Government Contracting, and a part of that session is including an overview of each of the certifications. We don't go into a lot of details, but we do give an overview of all of the certifications. We also talk about how to access the government contracts, some things that they need to consider when preparing their bid or their proposal, how to identify the federal agencies that are actually awarding contracts in their particular NAICS code. So that session is a government contracting session with the SBDC at Southeastern, and it's called Building Wealth Through Government Contracting. And I know also later on in June, we're doing a Woman on Small Business certification piece with the PTAC and the SBDC. And I think it's June 30th at 3 o'clock with the SBDC out of at University of Lafayette. We're doing another government contracting session. So we have several that's scheduled for this month, and they are all posted on our website, the Calendar of Events website. We try to make sure we get them out there on the website as soon as we can.
Thank you so much for those. We'll definitely look out for it and try to make sure that people know about them.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, well, we just have a few minutes left. Do we have anybody in our call audience today that has any questions for Joe or for anybody who's here with us today? Okay, I'm gonna call on Jamie again. Do you get your text straightened out, Jamie? Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I think I was muted. I was trying to call on Jamie.
Yeah, I think I have it. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Jamie.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, the audio is going in and out for me. It's been very low, but then I got in my car, and through the Bluetooth, I'm able to hear really well. So sorry about earlier.
Oh, no problem. So tell us about what's been going on with your business at LA as you start getting ready for reopening.
Well, the main thing is just making sure that I'm up to speed on what's the proper protocol as far as making sure everything is sanitary, clean, disinfected before and after the service. And so just making sure that I have all those protocols down, and then just learning as much as I can about the virus and signs for it, with myself or with clients.
So you are actually kind of going above and beyond in trying to be aware of what to look for in case maybe there's someone showing signs and symptoms that's not aware of it themselves, but maybe you can point it out yourself.
Yes, trying to be as proactive as possible because I definitely do want to get back to work, and I also want to do it in a safe manner for myself, for everyone around me, and obviously for the clients as well. So I'm definitely taking as many steps as I can to ensure everyone's safety.
That's really good to know. Thank you for all that you're doing. And you took the contact tracing class online, is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned from it that you're going to implement in your small business, and anything you'd like to share with other small business owners that you think would help them?
Well, as far as what the biggest thing I guess I'd say I learned is just to be very I'm trying to think of what's the correct word. To just make sure you're really thorough in the event that someone does have the virus. It's a very thorough program as to try and find out who they've been in contact with leading up to their infection and during their infection, as far as to trying to see who they may have come across and to who they may have potentially infected, and then in turn those people that may have been infected. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Right. And now, for most small businesses, that might be going a little above and beyond. And of course, you're in a small healthcare practice, so that kind of makes sense for you. Um, uh, were there any I guess more general strategies beyond simply contact, or rather tracing people's contacts literally, um, um, any other skills or techniques that they covered that you think were helpful? Like before we talked about communications.
At the end of the day, yes, communicating properly and thoroughly with your client or anyone that may have COVID, especially if in the event you are actually contact tracing, it's really just about communicating and basically at the end of the day, the biggest thing is, like you said, communication. And I'm sorry, I didn't get to the other part of the question as far as to help other small businesses that are potentially getting ready to reopen. The biggest thing I could say is just go over your protocols in your head and just, be as thorough as what you can. And anything and everything that someone may come into contact with and may potentially touch, make sure it's disinfected. Like, from using myself as an example, I will be disinfecting the doorknobs before and after services. I'll be disinfecting my desk. I'll be disinfecting the chairs, the massage table, the face cradle. I also have an air purifier, a hospital grade cleaner. So basically everything that people can or may touch needs to be disinfected.
Yeah, and I think that probably if that's not standard practice, to wipe down your desk and your doorknobs every day, like it may be some extra steps, but it's definitely worth it right now in this climate to go through those extra steps. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely, you can never do too much. And also, I forgot to mention hand sanitizer, before and afterwards. So every business should have a protocol out there by now for people to adhere to. So, just follow that protocol. And if you see something that you feel may be missing, implement it, because we can never go above when it comes to our health, our loved ones' health, and the health of our clients or whomever we serve.
Thanks so much for joining the call, Jamie. And we're right at time. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Thanks so much again, Joe, for joining the call. Thanks to everyone who's here live with us, and to everybody who's listening. And Jay, thanks again for everything that you've been doing to help make this happen every month.
There's no problem. glad to do it. Thanks for hosting for us. Just want to go over just normal house cleaning. Just want to thank everybody for joining us for another virtual town hall. I think we had some great information today. Just wanted to point out some contact information that we usually have. I know Joe last LA. There's also SBA.gov/disaster. If there's any more questions about the disaster response from the SBA, there's also the phone number 504-589-6685. Not sure if they're, well, yeah, that's the contact number. Great, as I said before, great people to reach out to us. Also have the SBDC, lsbdc.gov. The phone number is 504-831-3730. They were mentioned before in the call. They do business development. They are a resource to utilize the business development process. Of course, we have SCORE, New Orleans at SCORE.org. We also assist both the SBA and SBDC with business development, as well as some other business development community members to help build up our community of small businesses to help push the economic envelope forward. So we are here to help. Also have Fund 17 who we work with. They do a lot with prepping newer businesses for funding. That was fund17.org, and it's 504-656-4176. They helped us out putting together these virtual calls as well. And we also have True Fund, who has participated in these calls as well. TrueFund.org is a website, and the local number is 504-293-5526. Just like the other organizations, they have some educational programs out there that can help you help you to go in this development and be successful. So we also have some other partners online, like Ms. Graham from Capital One. I want to thank her for the stuff, some the help she's provided for us. She's done a lot of workshops for us, especially in the financial sector. We've done some management and budget management workshops. Ms. Graham, did you want to say anything?
I just want to thank you, Jay, for inviting me. I've learned a lot. It was very informative, and just keep me on your invitation list for the next ones that come up. I really appreciate it.
Will do. And I want to get with you later on about putting together some more workshops as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. Our next virtual town hall will be scheduled on July 2nd. We're moving them to the first Thursday of every month. Time to be, and it also we also want to keep these communication channels open. That way we can have these discussions on what's going on currently, what resources we have available, and what to look forward to and how to prepare for it. Other than that, I think that's all the house cleaning I have. If you have any questions and you can't get in touch with anybody, if you just want to reach out, you can reach me directly at jeremy.reed@scorevolunteer.org. I hope get you connected to the right resources, right people. All these people, everybody that's on the call, I'm usually in contact with regularly, or try to be, because this is the new normal that we're in, so it's a little bit more hectic than normal, what we're used to, but we facilitate different connections, and of course we do educational programs. That's all I have. April, did you have any closing comments?
That's it for me. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Sorry about that. My internet keeps popping in and off on me. But we are wrapping up. So if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for coming again, and we'll see you next time.